Next, we speak to a Canadian who drove by one of the Paris attack sites minutes after explosions rang out. Henry-Francois Gelot left Paris and flew home to Montreal yesterday. He joins us now via Skype. So, Henri, you drove by one of the attack sites just minutes after everything happened. Can you take us through what you saw?
That's correct. I manage a band called the Franklin Electric, and we were just coming off a month-and-a-half tour across Europe, driving in back from the UK, and we got into Paris around 9:45 on Friday evening, and our apartment Airbnb that we were renting was in the 11e arrondissement, and we stopped at a red light, and on the left-hand side we noticed that there was people on the ground. Windows were shattered, and this was at 9:50. This was about 5 to 10 minutes after the explosion had occurred. I think it's the first suicide bomber that took his life away and tried to injure others. So the ambulances, certain ambulances were there. A couple of firemen were there for first aid. We couldn't really stop. There was vehicles behind us and another ambulance coming through. So we went to go park 2 blocks down. I have a friend who called us immediately from Paris and said, "Stay inside. It's a state of emergency. There's different explosions and drive-bys happening and a hostage situation. So don't stick around. Just stay inside." Which we did. We parked and then we found shelter in an Irish pub where we were under lockdown till about 3 in the morning.
And so, you know, you're talking about how that you're in the music industry, and that Bataclan concert hall attack, that it really resonated with you. Tell us a little bit more about that.
We're really sad, mad, frustrated, and at the same time, we can't live our lives in fear. We're in a free society, so we have to keep doing what we do. We just have to be a little more alert and better educate. Maybe our kids, the people around us. Schools have to educate students in a better way so that we avoid any type of bigotry or racism or looking at people and judging them the wrong way. But in terms of the music, just to come back, we're really affected. I mean, we spend, I would say, a third to half of the year in concert halls. So for us to hear that 2/3 of the people that were killed on Friday night were in a concert hall enjoying good music, it really sparked something in us, and you know, I think we're now in a situation where we're, as artists or artist managers, we have to mobilize with a lot of solidarity. There's something that, you know, that has to be done. It has to be voiced out. The dramatic thing about these terrorist cells is that it can happen anywhere, and in most cases it'll happen where there's populated areas. So sports and entertainment locations, in sports venues, or it could happen in a club or in a school. So it's completely tragic. We saw things that were kind of horrible to see, but we can't live in fear. We can't let this. We have to keep on doing what we do, and just be very cautious. The other thing I have to say is that we took the plane from Charles de Gaulle Airport the next morning, Saturday. Our flight was not delayed, but the level of security at the airport was not at par with what we thought it was going to be. There wasn't any random checks. We saw very few policemen, very few military. There was delays due to the airline, but not really due to any personal security checks. And just as a personal story, once I was going through, from the point where right before boarding, we're going through security, and our carry-ons are being checked through this X-ray machine. The lady that was checking my bags was actually doing her nails under the table, not even looking at these 2 screens that were X-rayed. So I could have had anything I wanted in my bag, and I have electronics, I have a camera, I'm on tour, so we have equipment and microphones. And I was kind of in shock, and several of the band members were right behind me following through, and this girl was barely giving a glimpse. So I'm like, for a state of emergency, it wasn't really what I was expecting. Now, maybe stronger methods have been put in place since, but we're talking about the next morning. when all this happened Friday night, we didn't know how long this was going to elongate. If this was just a temporary moment, or if this was going to be over a weekend, if we were going to be able to leave or not. So yeah, there's mixed feelings, like sadness. We're mad, we're frustrated, and all that a little bit combined, you know. But you know, it's a situation of like Trojan horses. We can't control what's going to happen. This is like dirty fate for a lot of people around the world. And in this predicament, it was Paris. Although there were bombings taking place also in Lebanon, I think on the same day, which the media didn't really talk as much about, sadly.
Henry, it was really it was good to speak with you. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you very much.
That's Henry-Francois Gelot, a Canadian who was in Paris during the attacks. He's now back in Canada, joining us from his home in Montreal.